Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm the Gnarly Gnome. This is Cincy Brewcast. It's the voice of Cincy Craft. First off, I have to apologize for no show last week because I was camping with the family, and I fully intended on getting a show edited and put up, and it just didn't happen because I ate way too much meat and smoked too many cigars and drank way too much alcohol. So I just didn't do it. So sorry.
Sounds like a great weekend.
It was amazing. The weather, it rained on us, but that's fine. You prepare for it, and it's kind of fun sitting, under a pop-up canopy, drinking heavily with the rain. It's great. It's exactly how I want to spend a weekend. So you guys will all get over no show. But this week, we've got a great one because, for lots of reasons. It's great timing because HighGrain's second location just opened up here at Brentwood. Is this technically Finneytown or Springfield Township, I guess is probably what we're supposed to call it.
Yeah, Springfield Township is kind of the conglomerate, right, of all these little neighborhoods that came together. This would be the Brentwood area if you were, alive and well doing, in the 60s.
I don't know what year it is.
But yeah, no, it is Finneytown. We're right by Finneytown schools in that school district. But it is the old Brentwood Bowl.
Right. We have not had a HighGrain show since May of 2019. I looked it up right before we started. So it was actually like a couple weeks before the original location opened. So we've never, I'm sure I've had a HighGrain beer on the show at some point at some kind of festival or something. But we've never officially had a HighGrain beer on the show. So that's how I'm going to start things off because it is a craft beer podcast. I typically would go like super light. Is the Pilsner is not even up there. So okay.
It is now.
Okay, well, it's fine.
It is as of today.
It's fine. That is typically my go-to, and I have even just in the few weeks you guys have been open, realized that this is going to become a regular rotation, like during the day for me to sit and get some work done. Cool. So you got to go lighter on that too sometimes.
Absolutely.
But I went the other direction. I went West Coast IPA because
my favorite.
I've got a problem that I need to talk about with people. Nobody's making proper West Coast IPAs anymore. I didn't introduce you before we started. I'm getting right into my rant here.
I love it.
Austin Neal, welcome to the show.
What's up, man?
You are a director of marketing?
Yes, director of marketing, events, and then kind of whatever falls under not food or beer.
When a new space is opening, I'm sure that includes a whole lot of stuff. But we got to rant about West Coast IPA.
No, absolutely.
If you're making a West Coast IPA, what are those for you? And it shouldn't be for you. It should be a very defined style characteristic at this point, but it seems to not be. Like, what makes a West Coast IPA to you?
To me, dankness, some really good hop. What am I trying to say? Really good hop bitterness notes. Like I want bitter, hoppy. I want it clear. I want it a little higher ABV too. Yeah. I mean, I to be completely honest with you, I don't even know what the judges are looking for in a West Coast.
I don't know either.
I know it's not usually what I try to drink.
I mean, I assume it's probably West Coast hops.
Sure.
It's probably important.
Sure.
I know it's got to be clear. Yep. I know that. I don't care what anybody says. It has to be clear.
Yep.
And I need some bitterness. It needs to remind me of the first time I drank an IPA, what those IPAs tasted like at that time. Yep. And I get that IPA has evolved and there's some different things happening with IPA, and that's fine.
For sure.
And there's a time and a place for all of that stuff. But when you're going to call it a West Coast IPA, it sure as hell better be a West Coast IPA.
It better, yeah.
So this is Titan. I'm going to take a drink.
Please.
People that are watching on video know that I already took drinks, but I'm going to pretend like this is my first sip of this beer. Yeah, it's hoppy. As soon as you get your nose over it, you get that big blast of hops right in your face.
Yep.
It's great. It's bitter. It's it's hoppy. It's like you said, danky.
Crispness,
there's a lot of fruit going on, but like that big kind of tropical fruit. There's some citrus going on there.
Yeah,
it's a great beer.
I love that beer. It's probably right now. It's definitely my favorite IPA up. No knock on our core Monarch, but I would say that of the 8 IPAs, I'm picking Titan every time.
I enjoy the session IPA Bonsai a lot too.
Yeah.
But again, IPAs, I start going with these like lighter crushable beers, or one that's a sleeper up here right now is the oatmeal stout.
Yeah.
That is so good.
It's so good.
Also lower ABV, so you can have a few of them.
Well, not nearly as heavy as you think. You see oatmeal milk stout, and you're like, oof, that sounds like a brick in my stomach. It's not.
Right.
It's very light, very easy to drink, crushable. It can be a summer stout. Awesome.
So let's we got to rewind time a little bit, because it's been so long since we've sat down and done a show here. We'll go back in time as the show goes on to a few other questions that I've got, but what changes with the original location in Silverton that makes a spot like this necessary or possible, or even something that you want to try to do? We hear all kinds of doom and gloom stories right now about what's happening with craft beer.
For sure.
Where are you guys at in Silverton that you're like, you know what, we might need to start thinking about something?
Yeah. Great question. In 2019, I wasn't even full-time with the brewery yet.
Right.
So I was there part-time. We were doing well, right? Pandemic hit.
Yeah, I mean, so you guys opened in May of 2019.
Yeah.
The very first small run of cans that came out was the Little Joey.
Little Joey that we made with Rheingeist.
And that was probably
whenever the Australian wildfires were.
Late 2019, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
And it was probably still on shelves in March as soon as everything just goes to hell.
Without a doubt.
Didn't even have time to
we were so pumped about that. I mean, you think about it too. In 2019, a brewery our size, which at this point, calling us a brewery was a stretch. We were just now making beer,
Right.
And then our friends at Rheingeist were like, hey, do you want to make a beer to benefit wildfires? And we were like, us? What? we have 4 employees. What are you talking about? So that was huge for us. It was a really fun beer to make. And then, like you said, I mean, months later, no one's going out of their house. No one is visiting breweries. The only way they're drinking beer is if they got it from either the local gas station or a convenience store or a supermarket. And even those, they weren't even going inside, right?
Right.
So, and we weren't canning beer. We used Ironheart.
I say that you guys released a small run of cans. Yeah. It was a one-off. It was a one-off thing. It was not supposed to be like this model that you guys are going to have, beer sitting on shelves. It was just a fun thing.
Yeah. It was literally just this will be a cool drop in the pan. People maybe start to hear our name a little bit because it's Rheingeist supported.
Yeah.
And it goes to a good cause. It's everything HighGrain wants. Let's do it. Hoping that this is going to be the start of something fun. And then it kind of was in a weird way, right? We had 0 plans to can our beer and get it in Kroger and Jungle Gyms. That was not the original business plan. It was to open up small brew pubs throughout the city or state or whatever, keep that HighGrain sustainable model going in these reusable buildings and see what happens.
Right.
Well, no one's drinking your beer when they're not going out.
Right.
Unless you're canning it. So we went and bought Goose number 2, the second Goose canning line made. That was at Upslope in Colorado. So we purchased Upslope's canning line, had it shipped across the country to us so that we could start canning beer to make sure that people could get, I mean, as weird as this sounds, our liquid in their mouth, right? That's the only way they're going to know who we are. They're not trying our food anymore. They're not coming in for the atmosphere. This is the one thing that's going to keep us above water, really.
Well, especially as a brand new brewery that hasn't had time to kind of start getting people used to your name and totally. Introducing you to them.
Yeah,
you're coming fresh off of just opening up,
right? No, literally.
and now it's like, hey, you can't come in.
Not even a year. Not even a year, and we had to shut our doors and try to figure out how do you stay alive now in this world that we at that point I think we all thought the pandemic was going to last 2 months, right? It was like, oh, don't worry, 2 months of this will be fine,
right? And
then 2 years later, we're still trying to figure that out. But no, so we got the canning line. We started heavily canning beers. I mean, basically everything that we would make went into a can because that was the only way that we were going to get our name out. And so we brought on a sales team of one person, and his job was to just rip around Cincinnati and make sure that we were present in as many places as we could be.
Right.
Now we fast forward a little bit, and there's details in between that we can get into, but we fast forwarded to about 2 years ago. We're having to say no to accounts because we can't make enough beer.
Right.
If you were at the Silverton location, we didn't love that we had to do it, but we had to put 2 fermenters outside. Right. We had no room inside the building to put any more. So we were at our breaking point of really just needing to get out of that space for production. And, accounts like, let's say, the Cincinnati Reds, we want to, of course, every brewery wants to be in the Great American Ballpark, right? Like, that's awesome.
Right.
But if you ever miss a delivery, if you ever under-deliver, they say goodbye. They don't need you.
Right.
So we didn't ever want to be in that position. So we said no to the Reds a couple years in a row, so that we could eventually say yes and stay there, hopefully forever. So that was the necessity of this build. We needed production space, plain and simple. And then came Springfield Township. They kept this building from becoming a car wash, a storage facility, gas station, and I think there was one other thing. And they ended up buying the building out of foreclosure, I think with some COVID funds. And then they ended up being in full control of who gets to take it over, right? So they hit us up and said, we're going to...
Let me grab another mic.
Yeah, you're good. We're going to basically provide this building and give you a great deal on a building to make sure that you have enough production space to make the beer you need to make. But more important for Springfield Township was the fact that they were getting a staple renovated in the community. So for a long time, Brentwood Bowl was a center of this community. It's where people would have their birthday parties, graduation parties, all that kind of stuff. And that happened for decades here. So the thought of this building becoming a car wash or storage facility or something like that was just unacceptable to Springfield Township. So we're pretty happy that they sought us out because we were in need of production space, but it also is a win for them because they are able to reutilize this awesome, huge building for their community in a way that is a lot different, I would say, than most breweries. Like you said, this is a spot you want to come and work in the afternoon.
Well, there is something about breweries too becoming a piece of the community that they're in, which car washes are great,
sure,
but they don't necessarily do that in the same way. And it's number one, it's impressive that Springfield Township has that kind of forethought that, totally. this is an important spot and we want something that actually matters to the community to be here. But to be able to forego the places that are still going to spend money on it, and bring money in and be.
Big brands wanted to buy it.
It's impressive, and thank God for people that do live over here that it ends up being a place like you guys versus a car wash.
No, and I said on our ribbon cutting when we opened that everybody who lives in Springfield Township should be forever grateful that their township trustees and stuff really thought about what would be the most beneficial to this community. And I meant that. They could have made a lot more money in different ways with this building. And they said, well, we'd rather just benefit the community than have a car wash. Right. So,
we've got more people joining us.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know if anybody can hear the chaos that was happening while you were,
I was trying to keep it going.
Doing really good. Carrying on your answer.
Yeah, you did great.
Thanks.
Let's start with you, Brad. Introduce yourself. Tell us what you do here, and we'll get your mic. Make sure your volume's good.
Cool. I'm Brad Brooks. I brew a lot of beer. I fix a lot of things. I do just about everything.
It seems to be the norm for most people. It's like, I do this, but I also do just about everything else as it pops up.
Yeah.
Pretty connected team.
Right.
Yeah.
Matt, introduce yourself. You're the only one that has been on the show, although it has been 5 years. It's been
been a long time.
It's been a very long time.
My name is Matthew Utter. For those who don't know me, I'm one of the founders of HighGrain Brewing. Yeah.
So
what do I do?
That's it. What do I do?
Well, ever-changing roles here at HighGrain. We're growing. We're trying to make sure that we departmentalize appropriately and make sure that we execute well in each department. Many hats is fun for a little while, but not forever. So yeah, we're definitely on the growth route and trying to understand our next steps in the company as a whole. Brew side, we just had a huge step that we just took. But yeah, we're a well-oiled machine around here.
Well, as a company does make that shift into multiple locations, production facility, and a tap room, and all this other stuff going on, like those roles do get really complicated, and like you can be running all over the place trying to do a bunch of different things in a bunch of different spots, but you've got to find those right people and have them in the right spot and have them know that is their spot and what they have to do. Like that becomes more difficult as a company evolves and becomes what it is today for you guys. Have there been difficulties with that, of trying to figure that out? Of, you can't just be that person that just does everything. You've got to have very defined roles for people so that it doesn't just end up as a bunch of people running around.
Yeah, I think we did it both in multiple facets, a unique way. We kind of dangerous for a business, but we grew the personnel prior to opening Brentwood, knowing that we wanted to hit the ground running and not stumble when we opened up. There are a decent amount of breweries and options for people to go out and enjoy themselves in the city. So hiring up or putting people in places prior to us opening, 6 months, a year prior to us opening, so that people could understand their roles a little bit better, I think ultimately helped us as a company. Financially, I don't know if that's the right decision to be made, but we made it. And, to answer your original question, I don't think there's confusion on who's supposed to do what. Very often it's more along the lines of, mostly me or maybe Brian or some other folks making sure that the people have enough time to do the things that they expect themselves to be able to get done. Not necessarily the expectation of HighGrain to the individuals, but more along themselves. Like, hey, do I have enough time to get this done to make the company grow and have a life? That's most important to me. I don't think there was any confusion, though.
Right. What have been the hardest things that you've had to shift and change coming into something? As this is a big shift for the company. It was, it's not just opening another tap room. This is a big facility. The food is similar, but you're gonna have a very different crowd that comes into here, that comes into Silverton. The demands of that are gonna look different. You've got multiple other businesses that are partners in the same space. Like this is a big change. What are some of the hurdles that you've hit that maybe you anticipated, but were still difficult to navigate, or things that you just didn't anticipate at all?
I'll speak for one. I just think with working with Brian Lascano, who's one of the other owners, on the front of house side, I would say that a challenge is just the fact that you grow your work family significantly overnight, it seems like. So we went from, I'm going to give a round number, from around 40 people at Silverton altogether. So that's everybody, salaried, full-time, part-time, to now we're, I don't even know what we're at officially, about 100. So we're more than doubling.
Right.
And I wouldn't say that that's necessarily like it's a challenge. It's not a downside by any means, but it's a massive challenge, right? Like when you almost overnight, you blink and your family is twice the size it was the day before. So how do you make sure everybody's included? How do you make sure everybody's heard? Because as someone who's not an owner here, I think that's one of the benefits of working here that I have noticed, is that I feel heard. I feel like, I have a voice and I have a say.
I don't even get that in my family.
Right, yeah. I know it's rare.
Does it become hard then to kind of make sure that the culture kind of carries over when you're, you have a relatively small kind of group of people in one space, and then all of a sudden, pretty much overnight, you're flipping a switch and that's more than double. How do you make sure that the right people are still kind of carrying on this idea of what HighGrain is without, things falling off the rails and people just kind of coming to work?
Yeah.
We like to make sure that our staff is super well educated about our beers and our culture and what we do here. And I do beer school for all the new people that come on, and Matt and I will talk to the servers about the beer that we're brewing and they feel our enthusiasm, and so I feel like the amount of enthusiasm that we're putting out when we're talking about these beers, the entire staff feels as well, and they speak about it with almost the same exact thing. So,
not just in opening a new location, but just in the way craft beer has kind of changed over the last 5 years since you guys opened. Do you see less of like a passion from people coming in? They're coming in and this is more of a bartending job, not somebody that's like I need to work around beer somehow. Like, do you see that at all, or is that something that people are just writing about because it's fun to write about and people click on it?
I've noticed some people that I wouldn't say are not interested in beer, but they are interested in more than what I'm used to. Like, I'm, hearing people say like seltzers are maybe one of their favorite things, or whatever it may be. Hearing
You've heard somebody say that seltzers are their favorite thing. Oh man,
yeah, I know. I know.
I drank a lot of seltzer this week. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a time and place. But no, I think overall though, I mean, I'll let them answer that too. But I just we told people when they applied here that, well, first and foremost, we were a company that makes beer, and we pride ourselves in that. We have a restaurant. We make really good food. We have incredible culture. We have really fun people that work here. But most of all, like, we're a brewery.
Right.
So like to Brad's point, if you want to be at the food counter running food and that's all you want to do, you're going to beer school, right? Everybody in here is learning about the beer that we're making. They're learning about the process, at bare minimum, the basics.
Right.
They're getting a tour of the brewery. They're getting the lecture from Brad. Like, regardless of who you are that work here, we want you to feel like you're a part of that beer story before you're a part of just the service industry. So
there's days where like I walk in somewhere and I sit down and I hear kind of how people are talking about beer, what they're ordering, and like I'm like, man, I was like, this is not the same as it used to be. This is depressing. This is not craft beer anymore. And then like the very next day I'll sit down somewhere and you'll get the complete opposite. I'm like, oh, okay, it's still there. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like,
we haven't felt, maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't really felt here, knock on wood, that the enthusiasm for craft beer is going anywhere. I think that it's just widening itself to other things as well, right? Like you mentioned IPAs at the very beginning. IPAs are changing, like the what people want, the styles, like all that stuff. It's maybe a little more loose than it was 10 years ago. But I don't think the enthusiasm for IPAs has gone away. I just think it's different, right?
Well, that sense of like discovery and exploration, I think, has changed because beer is so almost normal now. It's part of our everyday lives. There are lots of great breweries around, whereas there wasn't 10 years ago,
especially in Cincinnati.
So like it's when you sit down, you're not discovering a new beer style every day, whereas even 5 years ago, sometimes you were finding something new. Like, what do you mean it's a hazy IPA?
Sure.
What is that? That doesn't really happen as much anymore.
I think it's okay. I mean, I agree with the, I don't know, I don't really like the new normal term. This is the new normal, but where we were asked by the village of Silverton to open a brewery there, and we were asked by the township at Springfield Township to open a brewery here, knowing we have good intentions as far as sustainability is concerned, having great food, having a good culture here for our staff, having great beer, having people in line in our brewery. I mean, we only have 4 guys working with us, but we have some pretty cool backgrounds in European styles and clean, well-made beers. We opened a brew pub and then opened a production facility, if you will, both in areas that were asking for it,
right?
Not necessarily us, trying to find the best area. So I think that has a lot to do with the evolution of brew pubs. This is a 49,000 square foot production brewery that has 400 seats and great food and plenty of parking. If we were just a brewery that had taps with the expectations of people coming in here and just drinking beer, new, quote unquote, new craft beer like they were able to do 15 years ago, I don't think that's where it is anymore.
Right.
We've created in both places separately in two different styles, a place for people to go and enjoy friends, family, beer, food, TV if they want TV. Silverton is more, elevated. We're going to continue to grow that culture in Silverton to be our place where you can get full service dining,
Right.
And entrees, whereas this place has 20 times the amount of TVs and has a different vibe and is more along the lines of a sports bar / place to go to get beer that's made on site and great food, right? So I don't think the stigma towards craft beer is going anywhere. It is becoming expected. I go to a community and if I want to go to a dive bar, I'm going to Sundays down the street because it's fantastic. If I want chain food, I don't, so I wouldn't know where to go. But
you know what though?
But
I give Applebee's a lot of crap. We went to Applebee's the other night for dinner. I took my kids, and it was amazing. It was such a good experience.
Turning it around.
I was standing there, and we were walking out the door, and I'm like, my God, that was actually really good.
Did you have the Dollarita?
I did. I had several Dollaritas, which might have been part of my experience.
Well,
yeah. So it is a weird thing. People saying, "Oh, craft beer this, craft beer that." Craft beer is now just here. It'd be like saying, when
beer.
people used to make burgers with cheese and bacon and lettuce, tomato on it. And they were like, wow, that's pretty good. And then all of a sudden there was craft burgers, and we had the Turf Club, and we had Gordo's. We have all these other things. And now everybody makes these burgers all around town, everywhere. And they're fantastic. And they use their own imagination as a chef to make fun burgers. They put it in a burrito. They put it on a bun. They chop it up and call it a chopped cheese, all kinds of different things. We have a lot of great beers in the late 80s, early 90s, and we still do. And now we're honing them to our personal preference at the individual breweries that exist inside one city.
Right. Are there things that were part of Silverton that when you guys came over here shaped kind of what this place was going to look like or what this place was going to feel like or not? Like, what are some of you talked about how there's more TVs here. Probably because you got some people complaining in Silverton there's not enough TVs, and so you get to create these different experiences for different types of people, different what they want from their space. What are some of those other things that maybe we don't think about?
The experience here was created by the size of the building. It allowed us to create experiences that you normally can't. We have a private dining space that feels totally different than our tap room. We have our 3,000 square foot under roof patio that feels like you're outside, but you're still under a roof. We're in currently developing our front patio that will be under naked sky with a fence around it. So we have a lounge area in front of the brewery that's also developing right now. So we have potentially up to 5 different spaces here just because of the sheer quantity of square footage we have.
Yeah. Right.
I think too. We want the spaces to feel different, right? I mean, for one, the size for sure. 2, the capabilities of the kitchen, right? I mean, we can seat close to 400 people here. If we're maxed out, it's going to be really hard to make shrimp and grits for everybody, or like the real involved stuff that we do at Silverton. So we had to cater the menu to that, but I think it's bigger than that, and maybe I'm just making this up on the top of my head, but I really do believe this. I think that we're trying to show people too that craft beer has a spot everywhere, right? Craft beer can be paired with a really high quality, locally sourced meal at a beer dinner, which you've attended. We love doing at Silverton, or you can come to a sports bar. That's not necessarily what we are, but you can go to a sports bar, any sports bar in the city, and find local craft beer, right? So trying to show people too that our beer is versatile. Beer in general is versatile, but our beer is versatile. You can enjoy it chilling on the couch at an upscale dinner at Jeff Ruby's. We want those experiences for people. So it's important that when people go into Silverton, it doesn't feel like a sports bar. Right. We're not going to add any more TVs to Silverton because we want people to go in and have a different experience than they would here. Yeah.
So you talked about how the space itself or the size of the space shaped what it feels like. What about the neighborhood? How much of how much did you look around at what other places exist around here or don't exist and try to incorporate some of that stuff into what this is?
We did do a demo study to understand what exists around here, the lack of what we think is fun and driving for a multitude of ages and orientations, and every type of person can come in here, and I've seen it here immensely about just the different style, age, sex, color, the whole 9 yards of what people are that are coming in here, and they're just having a great time. Kids, adults, there's a lot of kids here. The age of the person who really enjoys craft beer has kids, right? That's still our median person that comes in here, or people that are going to have kids between the ages of probably 2 and 16, whatever. So that's inevitably going to happen. But the fact that I see all walks of life in here is really exciting. I don't know if we based the neighborhood on exactly how we outfitted this place, except for maybe indirectly we did, but like, it's just like, what do you want to do? Where's craft beer going? What kind of food do people want to eat? Oh, yeah. It to be easy, kid friendly. If they want to be in and out, they can. If they want to hang out for a while, they can. We have, 40 seats around 3 different bars that people, if they want to belly up to a bar and, start with beer and end with whiskey, they can do that too. We have TVs right in front of them. We have great bartenders that like to have great conversation. So I
think a little bit of it too is just, like you said, or maybe the lack of, and we ourselves drove up and down Winton Road, and what do they not need? Well, they don't need fast food. They don't need we have fried food, but they don't need a full fried food menu.
Right.
And also, you look at some of these places, they need somewhere to actually hang out.
Yeah.
Not just a drive-through, right? And not just an overcrowded, tiny little dining room. So we saw
the outdoor space alone is like, you look around the area and you're like, there's not like great patios just to go sit and have a beer on a patio.
No.
Like, and it's amazing that there aren't more businesses that like are just paying attention to what's around them and what people don't have. Because,
for sure.
Most people, when they're going out to grab a beer, they got to get in their car. And they got to, even if they're just driving 4 miles down the road. But if you're getting in your car and you're driving 4 miles, it's just as easy to drive 10 miles. Mm-hmm. And now how many breweries do you have to choose from? And then it's probably just as easy to go another 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And now how many breweries do you have? So like you've got to create these spaces that meet the needs of the people around you. And you guys have knocked it out of the park here. Like this is great.
Appreciate that.
It affects, and I live in Fairfield, for anybody that doesn't know, not to be too behind the curtain of the anonymity of the gnome, but this is, close enough to me, but it's also far enough that it's like, you know what, I've got a lot of places to choose from.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Even if I'm talking about, just in the middle of the day, there's a lot of places that I could go and sit and have a beer. And so you have to find those things that get me to want to go here. And you guys have.
Well, I may have missed if we did, because I was grabbing you a beer, but if we haven't talked about La Terza yet.
We haven't yet.
Okay. So real quick to finish what you were just saying, I think that overall, what we saw, just to put it very plainly, we saw all socioeconomic statuses, we saw all races, we saw all genders, we saw all backgrounds and all that stuff within the Springfield Township area.
Right.
And we saw that most people didn't want to leave. This place is not littered with homes for sale like a lot of other areas, right? A lot of people want to stay here.
Right.
Their forever homes are here. Young families are starting their families here. And there's nothing to really do. So you put everybody under the sun under one area, a lot of younger families moving in, and there's nothing to do. Well, what can you give them to do, right? And like Matt was saying, you give them a giant building where they have options. They can use it as a restaurant, as a tap room. We have a private event space. You can have your graduation party. You can, like, however you want to mold it for yourself, you can.
Right.
But then we had to, I think we had to go a little bit further, because we didn't go a little bit further. I think we still are kind of like at the middle of the road of what the offerings are.
Yeah.
And so we made 2 massive partnerships. One is La Terza Coffee. They actually moved all of their coffee roasting production here. So the other side of this giant blue wall when you walk in. On the other side of that is their roastery, where they're all doing all their intake, shipping, receiving, everything.
There should definitely be vents built into this wall, by the way.
Oh man, you don't even need the vents, man. In the morning, like you go anywhere in this building and it smells like coffee. But then we were like, but again, this building needs to be used like a community space.
Right.
So what do we do to do that? We put in a coffee shop, right? So build out a coffee shop. So right when you walk in, you look to the left, Laterza has their own full espresso bar. They're making their own espresso drinks, cold brews, drip coffee. They have pastries, and that opens at 8 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday. So we want people to use this building before our bars open. Just because we aren't serving you beer doesn't mean you can't come in and work from home, like you were saying.
So it also kind of extends that wiggle room. There are some places where it's like, yeah, I'd love to get out of the house right now and go sit somewhere and work, but it's noon and
Sure.
it's going to be a long night, and I don't want to start drinking yet, and I'm not going to go sit at the bar and order a water.
Right.
I probably would here with the what's the
the limo.
the limo.
Oh,
I actually would, and I have, but so it's a bad example. But you come in and you're like, I want to extend this day for me, and you can come in the morning, you can have coffee.
Absolutely.
And then you can grab some lunch, and then you can start drinking beer, and then just stay here all day, and then
invite the family
your
for
family can
dinner.
come and pick you up and take you home at the end of the day.
Right, exactly.
It works perfect.
Well, I do want to mention the other partner, which you won't see like front facing when you walk in right away, is Revel Urban Winery. They have their spot down on 12th, I believe, in OTR. They've been doing an incredible job down there, making award-winning wines in the middle of Cincinnati in a basement, which I think that should already be applauded because that sounds really difficult.
Right.
But we have almost all of their wines behind the bar as well. So we really encourage you guys to try Revel wines if you're not a beer drinker, or if you are, have a Pilsner and then have a cab,
Are we going to see more of because when you walk in, you definitely see that this is HighGrain. You definitely see Laterza over there. You don't see any of that Revel kind of personality anywhere in there. Is there going to be more of a presence of them here?
Yeah, for sure. I think a big piece of that is letting them get up and rolling. Their process of getting up and rolling, it was a little more time consuming than it was for Laterza. So they're still kind of like making sure that they're getting their operations rolling. So we're not going to put any pressure on them yet we're never going to put pressure on them for that, but we want to be very front facing with them. We'll have their wines for sale. We're doing things to make sure that people know they're here. And then unfortunately, one of the owners of Revel, one of the founders, JC, recently just passed.
Oh.
And so that happened around the time when we were about to open, and that's way more important than a brewery or our business. So we have not pushed on that at all, but they know we want it, they want it, we want it. So it's happening. We just don't have an exact timeline on it yet.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to signage, we have no sign on Winton Road saying that it's HighGrain, saying that it's Laterza Revel Urban Winery. Yet we will. Some things take time. Another fun portion of seeing Revel come to life here, I think, is going to be putting HighGrain liquid into ex-Revel liquid barrels,
For sure,
as well as using fresh roast in certain types of products that we can all collaborate on under one roof as a beverage destination. I can't wait to do our first beer dinner here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's gonna be awesome.
Our beer dinners at Silverton will always be my baby, my love. I love it.
And they won't stop.
They won't
keep doing
stop.
it.
That is going to be what Silverton's all about, is the creation, the medium rare scallop with the balsamic drizzle. That's always going to be Silverton. But the beer dinner here, I'm really excited for it to be all under one roof for a beverage experience. sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, between the wine and
I've never been to like a beer dinner that you walk in and your first course is a cocktail paired up with an appetizer, and then you get a beer with a main course, and you get wine with and then you finishes up with a coffee. I've never been to a dinner like that before. I mean, I'm sure they exist somewhere, and somebody can send me an email if it does. But like, how fun would that be to kind of, one of my favorite thing about beer dinners specifically is kind of being forced to try something that I would never order by itself. I would be like, that sounds weird. I don't want that. I want the catfish sandwich. That's what I want because it's really freaking good. And so somebody making me get something else, and then I eat it, and I'm like, oh, that was really good. Or a drink, something to drink. There's beer styles that I walk in, I'm like, you know what? I don't really want that. Is this a hazy IPA in front of me?
That one is the Pilsner.
Okay.
Yeah. I got you a Pilsner.
I was going to say, oh, there we go.
There we go. Clear.
But hazy IPA is the perfect example.
Right.
I'm never sitting at a bar and ordering a hazy IPA.
Right.
Unless somebody tells me I should order it and kind of forces me to do it.
What do you order when you're sitting at a bar?
It depends on the bar. It's a
Desert Island bar.
desert island. Is it? So it's a hot desert island.
No, maybe not.
Okay, well that's going to factor into what I'm
It's
ordering.
it's an overcast 85-degree day on the desert
just
island.
a mild. I want something tropical. Then I'm on a desert island. I want to feel like I'm on vacation for the rest of my life. I want something with maybe some key limes or some coconut or something. If I'm on the island. Yeah. Now if
It's like 2 pina coladas.
Yeah.
One for each hand.
I could do that. Yeah. Well, no, I need a pina colada, and if I can do 2 drinks at the same time.
Well, yeah, sure.
2 different drinks.
Absolutely.
The people ask me a lot, like, oh, what's your favorite beer style, or what's your favorite thing, or this or that, and it's like, man, it's impossible to ever pick one thing. It's so experiential. Like it depends on where I'm at and what's going on, but.
I think mine would be West Coast IPA.
Wow, forever.
It would.
Forever.
But on a desert island, it would get warm.
Well, it's a play on words. Desert Island beer.
Oh, okay. I'm not actually on an island.
I mean, everything's an island.
Unlimited ice.
So, desert island beer is a play on words, Andrew. I don't know so you got to remember this is end all be all. This is what you're drinking, whether you're in hell or heaven for eternity.
Okay.
Deep.
Deep.
Speaking of thirst,
I'm still going. I'll go. You know what? I'm gonna go get you a beer, Matt. You guys talk about
desert islands,
and it can only be one beer for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Style.
So
Style.
It has to be something then that, for me, that changes depending on different things you can do to it. So if it warms up, it's going to taste very different than when it's really cold. Or it's. I need things that.
I agree. I commend you for the non-answer because it's very seriously. People would ask me that desert island beer, and I'm like, I'll pick one for you because you want an answer. But and seasonality is a big deal for beers. Am I sitting here with you watching the Reds game? Yeah, we're gonna drink 84 Pilsners.
Right.
If we're out having dinner with our family, I'm gonna not pair, but I'm gonna start off with something, go something else, and if we end up sitting there longer, I might switch to bourbon. Right. So I agree with the non-answer of desert island beer. It's you're right.
It's not a fair question.
Every question's fair, but the lack of answer is the best part about it. Anyway, we brew a lot of yellow beer here. I just saw a lady. I was eating lunch before, and I saw this lady walk away from our bar with a taster board or taster flight board or whatever, and they were all yellow.
They all kind of look the same.
And I was like, man, you could tell it. Brad Brooks and Matt Utter brew here. It's all freaking yellow beers, which all of them. I mean, that could have been all the way from a Bavarian Hefeweizen to a dank IPA to a Pilsner. They're all very similar, and the glass is cold and it fogs up, whatever. But it's awesome because they're just all yellow beers and they're all easy.
The question of what I drink here the most, I can't answer.
What's that?
It's the Pilsner.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure you can probably
Which
pull it
one?
up in the computer somehow and see how often I drink Pilsner versus something else, but there's probably a way to do that. Slow pour typically is my first one. Eventually I get tired of waiting and I just give up and I just go regular Pilsners. But
So yeah, we do slow pours on a year round. Lucen Pilsner, German Pils, if you will, is on year round. Mexican lager comes in the spring. Italian Pils comes in the fall. American Pilsner came and left, might come back. We do a lot of different Pilsners.
Can you talk about the difference between different types of Pilsners briefly?
Ingredients, one philosophy that we share religiously is the philosophy of the beer ingredient needs to be the ingredients in the beer need to be the ingredients that the beer is supposed to be made out of. If that, I don't even know if that makes sense, but
it makes perfect sense.
German Pilsners need to be made with German malt, German hops, with the exception of some other noble hops that aren't German, perhaps. Czech Pilsners need to be made with a Czech water profile and ingredients that belong in that beer. American Pilsners do not need to have Weyermann Pilsner malt from Bamberg, Germany, nor should they. The flavor profile doesn't need to be that way. Italian Pilsners are made a certain way. There's also processes throughout that are different. I mean, we use Italian malt for our Italian Pilsners that needed, maybe not, but we do.
We use Czech malt for Czech Pils.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. So the difference is the ingredients. There's also different processes throughout the brew and the fermentation that will differentiate them from each other. They're all yellow. They're all clear.
Anybody who likes Pilsner beer is probably going to be happy with any of them.
Yeah, but to us, they're all significantly different. And obviously, like you said yourself, you start with a Czech. If you get tired of waiting for it, you go to a German Pils. If the Italian Pils is on, you might turn over to that one. They have different hops too. What
I like too is that, for so many people still, and kind of going back to that same idea of, craft beer has just become kind of normal and maybe the passion is different than it used to be, but you can still sit down and talk to somebody that drinks a lot of beer and they still have no idea that there is a difference between a German Pilsner and a Czech Pilsner, or that is even a thing. They think it's just Pilsner. And they think it's just, this example of a Pilsner. And so to be able to sit down with somebody and to go, hopefully to go to a place or have that place where you can go and here, they've got both a Czech and a German Pilsner on, which is a very rare thing. To be able to sit down and try on both and be like, all right, can you taste this? Can you taste this? And that's the difference right there. It's just, the ingredients do this here and the ingredients do this here. That's a fun thing.
Anytime we have a beer or a style that we have 4 or more of, we usually try to do a themed flight as well, because we're really all about education. We want people to experience these things. So if you love Pilsners and you really don't understand the difference, when we have 4 Pilsners, come and get a Pilsner flight, because you will taste the difference, right? And then you can really kind of sit there and think, okay, German Pilsner, what am I tasting here? And you can make your own tasting notes and really try to understand the style.
That was one of the greatest achievements of my brewing career was I worked at a brewery that we could do a Pilsner flight.
Right.
It was really cool. Right. And it was
cool.
It wasn't planned.
No.
I think Brad and I looked at each other and looked up at the board and was like, we have 4 different Pilsners on right now. How nerdy are we? And we can make a flight out of this. And I think one of us went up to the manager or whoever and said, hey, make a Pilsner flight. And then it kind of turned into, there's occasional times we'll have a significant amount of Belgian beers on.
Or IPAs.
Yep. And we'll create Belgian flights, IPA flights, things like that. It's fun. It's fun for educational reasons also. But yeah.
Well, it's fun, from just this nerdy perspective too. Cause I've drank a lot of, if we're talking specifically Pilsner, I've drank a lot of German Pilsners. I've drank a lot of Czech Pilsners. I just don't get that chance that often to sit and try 2 fresh versions of a German and a Czech Pilsner next to each other at the same time. Yeah. It's hard to do. You can go to the store and try to buy them off a shelf and hope that they're both kind of the same age and you're going to get the same kind of, it's fun to be able to just geek out about beer sometimes.
Yeah. This German Pilsner that you're drinking is 2 hours old.
Yeah, that's about as fresh as it gets.
Yeah, it really is. It tastes incredible.
Not that freshness is everything, especially when we're talking lager. It's not freshness in the traditional sense of what freshness means, but
this is 2 hours from being
pulled into the keg. 2 hours.
Right. The cooler or the brewer saying this is perfect.
Right. I last night on the Weekly Pint, which is a weekly show that I do. If you guys don't follow that show, follow that show. I drank. I have other people determine what beer I'm drinking randomly, kind of, and I pulled a beer out that was Carlsberg, which I've not had for a very long time. And when I was drinking it, it just kind of tasted a little not what I expected. And I tried to figure out, so all right, so is this because the hops have just completely fallen out and it's just very earthy now, or are these some kind of really crazy earthy hops that I'm not really familiar with, or I don't know. And I'm looking at the date code and I can't read the date code, and I just have no idea if this beer tastes like what it's supposed to taste like. Like because I bought it in a can off a shelf somewhere, and you just don't know. It's
I haven't had one of those in a long time.
It's probably because their slogan is, and I quote, "Probably the world's best beer."
That's a good slogan.
Is it?
Probably the world's best.
If I were the owner of a brewery and making a slogan for my brewery, I would not second guess whether or not it's the world's best beer.
It prevents people from arguing with you. Somebody comes in and says that isn't the best beer in the world. Okay, well, it probably is. Like it just.
You're really.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fun.
It's fun, and I remembered it forever.
This will likely be your favorite place on earth.
Ooh. Why can't I say this is the best Pilsner brewed in Cincinnati?
It's probably
you can.
It is.
It's probably the best.
But I mean, like, if you go to Disney World and it's the happiest place on earth and you're sad, you feel like you failed. Like I did something wrong.
Yep.
Here.
As you
want your
should.
Customers to feel like they did something wrong.
Own your product.
It rained. This is not happy.
Heads up, if you ever went to Disney World and left sad, it's your fault.
It's
Yeah,
your fault.
absolutely. If it rains, you go inside and drink.
That's great.
You can do that at Disney now, right? Like, is that a thing? I don't
Yeah,
go to Disney. It's
nephews
too
are there
expensive.
now, walking around with beers.
My kids
Not
don't
my
care.
nephews.
I realized this weekend specifically while we were camping, we set up a hose for them and they just ran through the hose water and we're having a blast like they were at some kind of like crazy 5-star water park or something.
Yeah.
They were just as happy doing that.
That was like my childhood in a sentence right there.
Yeah. So I don't need to take them to Disney yet. I gotta wait.
Saving money.
Yeah, that's right. That's something. It's a lot of money. Go look at a big mouse. How does HighGrain keep evolving as things do keep changing? How do you pay attention to what people want and what people maybe don't want, and kind of keep giving them something that makes them happy without sacrificing why you started all this in the beginning?
That's a really good question. I would say, this is just a really kind of blanket answer to a lot of that, but overall, and this is not like a assault on people that like craft beer. I just don't think a lot of people know what they want.
Yeah.
Right. So you create opportunities for people to experience your product or experience your brand that you think people might like. And then you fine tune it, right? Like we did the beer dinner. The very first one we did, it was great. But they were at the end, we left and went, cool. People didn't like this part of it. They didn't like this part of it. But overall, the idea they liked, the concept they liked, right? So it's creating experiences and a place for people to find something that they like, right. Instead of trying to predict what they're going to want. Now, you can look at trends. I mean, like, we know people are interested in certain styles. We know people, we know that, NA beverages right now are on skyrocket. But, like, outside of like market trends, what are people really looking for? Community, number one. I think they want to be around and with other people and experience and create memories together. So we create those opportunities.
You also brought up that and I dissected it. You've said it 3 or 4 times, like breweries or craft breweries becoming normal. Good.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Right. Is it not? Like, oh yes, another HighGrain's opening up, or oh, HighGrain's going to open up in Union, Kentucky. Oh, that's going to be so exciting. No, we opened a brewery in an area that wanted us here. The township did, and the community did. We opened it up. People come. People enjoy it. It's normal. Craft beer is normal, and that's great. So,
right.
So the evolution of HighGrain as a company, we'll listen to people as they come and go, and our menu will change to what the chef likes to make. Our beers will change to what the 4 of us want to brew. Yes, we do brew to, we're not going to brew Scottish, stouts and put them in cans because people don't want that. We know that. I'm not going to make business decisions that are bad necessarily as far as beers, but like we're going to continue brewing beers that we love to drink and tap the box and think outside every once in a while and try to get our beer to places where people haven't tried it yet, so they come and experience HighGrain at one of our 2 locations. Those are the evolutions.
That balance between that, though, is hard for some people to make things that make them happy about beer and that they want to drink, and to make things that they know people want. Like sometimes those things don't. Those things don't match up. Luckily. Luckily it seems like everybody likes Pilsner, and you guys make a hell of a Pilsner.
Yeah.
But
you know, our number 1 selling beer is outside sales.
Ooh, I'm interested. If you
I mean, it's got to be Monarch, right?
That's right. That's what you'd think.
No.
That's what I thought.
It's my favorite beer to brew. It's the beer I'm most proud of. It's the beer that raised Brad's eyebrows before he started working here, when we were talking about it, and it's our Bavarian Hefeweizen.
Okay.
So
I like that.
It was fun the day that we were talking about the beers that HighGrain brews on a regular basis, and I told him, I was like, we do Hef as one of our year round, and he was like, wow, you do it year round? And I said, yeah. So people love Hefeweizen year round. We brew it year round. He's like, that's pretty rad, because it can be seen very easily as a seasonal beer, right?
Yeah.
You drink Huff in the summer. We brew it year round. It flies outside sales. It smokes out of here, and it's made almost exactly how I brewed it 20 years ago when I started brewing in Germany. And I brought the recipe here. I tweaked it to our system. I tweaked the ingredients because I can't get the same exact things. But the mash profile and the brew style is almost identical to what I was brewing over there. And it shows, in the batch right now on tap at both places is outstanding. Yeah. It is in my opinion, the best Hefeweizen you can get anywhere right now.
Which, when you talk about craft beer, I challenge anybody, really, not just Ohio, but like to go to a craft brewery and say, is Hefeweizen your number 1 selling beer? Probably not. It's probably an IPA or a Pilsner.
Or if it is, it means that you're doing a whole bunch of things badly.
Or, right.
That's the only thing that like you can hide some
Sure,
stuff
like
on.
that's the only good beer you have. Yeah, sure. No, totally. I was blown away by that too, because we took a guess of it as a staff, like what's the best selling beer?
That's interesting.
Think? I guess Monarch.
It's fun, and it's a beer that is truly the flavor is truly driven by the yeast. Yes, a little bit of the wheat, because I think we're at 75% wheat in the daggone thing.
It's also fun because it's a style that, like, if you're just getting into craft beer, the name might intimidate you. Hefeweizen is a very strange word for Americans. We don't understand what it means unless you're a beer drinker. And then once you try it, though, it's very, very familiar, very comforting, very, very easy to drink. So like
its cousins, however, are very approachable for non-beer drinkers. And I say its cousins, like your Belgian style wheats, your American style wheats, your wheats that have fruit flavors infused into them by synthetic garbage. But this beer is its cousin, and it is made with a yeast and a fermentation profile that will create the phenolic and ester characteristics that it has that will emulate some of its cousin style wheat beers that early on beer or craft beer drinkers enjoy.
Yeah. Well, it's wheat beers, and I think for a lot of people were kind of that gateway that got them into craft beer, and I don't know why. I don't know what got,
because there was an orange on it.
Well, no, but not even those. Like I think that even once we had decent Hefeweizens around, like I think that it got a lot of people into drinking craft beer.
I'll say one of the first craft beers I ever had, I can't even tell you the brand. It starts with a K. It's a German brand. They make a Hefeweizen. It's blue and white can, I believe. Bought it when I went to Miami University. Remembered thinking that was really freaking good. Yeah. And then it wasn't like that was a beer that I just forever bought, but then it got me thinking, oh, I should buy other beers that I just don't know what they are. Yeah. Right. And then you start that journey. So
my wife went to Miami and Steinkeller there.
Oh, yeah.
Drank a whole bunch of Franziskaner in college.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't like anything but Miller Lite and Franziskaner. And so it's like then eventually like, hey, you like this flavor, try this flavor. And
sure.
It's like, oh yeah, I like that too. Now try this flavor. Oh, I like that too. And then eventually that kind of palate that you look to for beer starts to grow and like it. But I just don't know why wheat is that thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I think it just sounds approachable. It sounds light.
Oh, I know what wheat is.
Yeah, right. It's wheat. Like,
I don't know what hops are, but I know what wheat is.
well, and
maybe it's that simple.
I just had this thought. We were talking at the beginning of the podcast about all these changes that have happened from 2019 when we were first on the show until now, and things that have really brought us here.
Yeah.
Not trying to build up his head too much, but you know, Brad did come on board to help with that production, like what Matt was saying, like really trying to like fine tune recipes and really trying to like create
the evolution of HighGrain.
Yeah, like that is
He
what it
helped us evolve.
Correct.
Our beer style branding.
Yeah.
I had my philosophies.
Which is a huge reason of why we are forced to get more production space, right? So I do want to. I'm kidding.
It's your fault, Brad.
I love Brad. I give him a hard time though. Like, you know, I don't want to keep telling you that you're really good at it, but you are. You know, like, I mean, he's a big reason, like we were talking about in the beginning, why it was crucial that we get more production space, because people are really liking the beers that he and Matt are making.
It's the whole
simple as that.
The whole journey is so interesting to me because I don't know what it would look like if COVID didn't happen.
Sure.
I don't know if we would, be in anything like this now.
Yeah.
If it, and like it's hard to draw like positives from stuff like that, but like it's like, man, like look at how it forced all of this to end up being what it is, and like that's a good thing. It's a good thing for beer drinkers.
You have to find the positive. I mean, it was hard for everybody. I mean, let's be real. At the beginning, it was terrifying too. Yeah. I mean, we all knew people that were affected. We knew people that died. People in the service industry were dying and getting sick, and it was scary. It was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
You have to find the positive now, though, right? You look back, and it's like all that had to happen for a lot of things to happen, right? So we are where we're supposed to be, and we're gonna stick to that, and we're gonna stay positive about it.
And make beer
and make really good beer.
Well, and it's like I don't know how you prepare yourself as a business or especially a service oriented business just to be ready for anything like that to happen. I don't know how you do that. And I don't know.
I think there's definitely some things you just
it.
aren't ready for.
You just plan on opening another one.
Yeah.
Is that it?
around a month before everything shuts down.
Yeah, let's do this again.
Is there anything you want people to know about HighGrain that you think they don't know?
Come find out.
Come find out.
Wow.
That could either be like a nice welcoming, like come join us, or a very ominous. Like,
The tone makes that music, huh? Hey, come find out. Sorry.
No, I think that if I had to say anything, it would just be that HighGrain is not just another brewery. The guy that runs social media, that when we announced we're taking over Brentwood Bowl, the amount of messages and comments I got that were like, great, another brewery. That's exactly what we needed. LOL. Just making a joke. I agree with them. I don't think Cincinnati needs just another brewery. Right. If that's what you are and you are about to open as a brewery, heads up, I don't think Cincinnati wants you, right? Like, that's just how it is. You have to offer something else. So we're not just a brewery. We do offer really good food. We do have the coffee shop at the Brentwood location. We have slightly more upscale, locally sourced food in Silverton. Like, all those things are true. But I think way bigger than that, and what I think Brentwood really shows well, is that we're a community, and we're a community-based brewery. Yes, we make beer. I think we make really, really good beer. I think we make really, really good food. But way bigger than that stuff is the stuff that we do with the community. I mean, we've partnered with so many people. Silverton is a tiny, tiny, tiny operation. And the amount of money we've been able to donate over the last 4 years to organizations that we love is everything to us. So the fact that we have the opportunity to do even bigger and better things with huge partnerships that really make an impact in communities,
right, to
us, that's everything for us. Like, we're pumped for that. So yes, all those things are true. We are a brewery, but we're a lot bigger than just that.
There's a whole rabbit hole we could go down there about the difficulty of maintaining that over time. And,
of course.
But if you haven't been here, come here. If you haven't been to Silverton, obviously go there too. I would love to sit here and talk about some of the ideas about how Silverton continues to evolve too now that this is open. But maybe that's a show for a different day.
Absolutely.
Not 5 years from now.
No. Let's do this more often, for sure.
Yeah, thank you guys very much. If you guys want to know more about HighGrain, the easiest way to do it is to just come here and drink beer. But you can follow them on social media, too. And I will put the links in the show notes. This episode, every episode right now is sponsored by Cincy Beer Week because I'm busting my butt trying to get all of that set up. If you guys want to know more details, go to cincybeerweek.com. And if you want to support this show, go to thegnarlygnome.com/support. And you can support that way and make my wife happy because... she's usually not very happy with me because I stay out too late drinking. So do that. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate you very much taking some time for me. Everything's great. You guys are nailing this. You might be onto something with this whole beer thing.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Be onto something. We will be back next week. I don't know who we're talking to, but it's going to be somebody and it's going to be fun. And we're going to talk about craft beer and we'll probably drink craft beer. And that's what we do. Like I said before, if you want to support the show, go to thegnarlygnome.com/support, and you can do it that way. Tell your friends about it, because sharing the show is how everything keeps growing. I appreciate every single one of you, and I timed this all wrong, so now I'm just trying to vamp and keep it going until the very end of the music, which is coming up. So there it is. Cincy Brewcast, the voice of Cincy Craft.